Welcome to Gist Dish TV, your ultimate gist corner. Before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comment section because today's gist is not just spicy, it is layered, controversial, and emotionally charged. Halfway through this gist, I will remind you again to subscribe, because stories like this, you do not want to miss them. Now let us get into it. What started as a seemingly calm revelation quickly turned into one of the most debated conversations in Nollywood's online space. When Bryan Okwara finally decided to speak openly about the long-whispered connection between himself and Sonia Uche, many fans expected clarity. What they got instead was confusion, controversy, and even more questions than answers. For months, some would say years, the internet had been buzzing quietly about Bryan and Sonia. The chemistry, the appearances, the closeness that looked a little too intentional to be brushed off as just colleagues. Yet both parties maintained silence. No confirmation. No denial. Just silence. And as we all know, in Nollywood, silence is never neutral. Silence becomes a breeding ground for assumptions, theories, and narratives that often spiral out of control. So when Bryan finally broke that silence, fans leaned in. Expectations were high. People wanted truth. People wanted closure. But instead of closure, what unfolded was a revelation that split the audience right down the middle. According to Bryan, there were things people misunderstood. He suggested that not everything seen online reflected the reality behind the scenes. He spoke carefully, choosing his words in a way that felt deliberate. To some fans, that calmness was maturity. To others, it felt rehearsed, almost strategic. And that is where the first major controversy began. Many viewers immediately questioned the timing of Bryan's revelation. Why now? Why speak after months of speculation, after Sonia's name had already been dragged through multiple online debates, comparisons, and accusations? Why not address the matter when the rumors first started gaining traction? Some fans believe Bryan waited until the heat had cooled enough for him to regain control of the narrative. Others argue that he simply needed time to process, time to protect his privacy, time to decide how much of his personal life he was willing to expose to the public. But critics were not buying that explanation. They pointed out that in Nollywood, timing is everything. Speaking late can sometimes feel like rewriting history. And that is exactly what some fans accused Bryan of doing, reshaping the story in a way that favored him while leaving Sonia to deal with the aftermath. This leads us to the second layer of this gist, Sonia Uche's position in all of this. Once again, Sonia found herself at the center of a narrative she did not fully control. Even though Bryan was the one speaking, it was Sonia whose name trended. It was Sonia whose character was dissected. It was Sonia who became the subject of online debates, with people analyzing her past interviews, her body language, her previous relationships, and even her silence. Some fans sympathized deeply with her. They argued that Sonia has repeatedly been placed in situations where men speak, explain, and clear the air, while she bears the emotional weight of public judgment. According to this group, Sonia's silence should not be interpreted as guilt or validation of rumors, but as a conscious choice to protect her peace. Others were less forgiving. They questioned why Sonia never openly addressed the rumors if they were false. They argued that public figures benefit from public attention and therefore should also accept public accountability. To them, silence was not strength, it was avoidance. And just like that, the comment sections turned into battlegrounds. One side insisted that Bryan's revelation was honest and necessary. The other side believed it was incomplete and unfair. And right in the middle stood Sonia, once again absorbing the impact of a conversation that revolved around her without fully including her voice. At this point, if you are still watching and you have not subscribed yet, this is your reminder to subscribe to Gist Dish TV. Stories like this unfold in chapters, and trust me, you want to be here for every update. Now let us talk about the deeper issue this situation exposes, the gender imbalance in Nollywood narratives. Time and time again, we see male actors praised for speaking their truth, while female actors are criticized regardless of whether they speak or remain silent. When men talk, it is called clarity. When women talk, it is called drama. When women stay quiet, it is called guilt. When men stay quiet, it is called privacy. This pattern did not escape fans watching Bryan's video. Many pointed out how easily the conversation shifted from what Bryan said to what Sonia must have done. Even without concrete statements from her, assumptions filled the gap. And that, according to critics, is one of the most damaging aspects of celebrity culture. Narratives are often shaped not by facts, but by perception. Another controversial angle is the question of image management. Some viewers believe Bryan's revelation was less about truth and more about reputation. In an industry where public image can determine career longevity, speaking up at the right moment can be a strategic move. Was this Bryan's attempt to separate himself from ongoing drama before it escalated further? Or was it simply a man tired of being misrepresented? There is no clear answer, and that uncertainty is exactly why the conversation refuses to die down. Meanwhile, Sonia's silence continues to speak volumes, depending on who you ask. To her supporters, she is choosing dignity over noise. To her critics, she is allowing rumors to define her. But here is where the story gets even more complex. Some insiders argue that not every relationship, romantic or otherwise, deserves public explanation. They believe the audience often forgets that actors are human beings first, celebrities second. According to this perspective, both Bryan and Sonia are victims of a culture that demands constant access to personal lives. Yet, others counter that once you benefit from public admiration, endorsements, and fan loyalty, transparency becomes part of the unspoken contract. So where does that leave us? Bryan has spoken, but questions remain. Sonia has stayed silent, but her name is louder than ever. Fans are divided, narratives are conflicting, and the truth sits somewhere in between, hidden behind carefully chosen words and deliberate silence. What is clear, however, is that this revelation did not end the conversation. It reignited it. It forced fans to re-examine how they consume celebrity stories. It challenged assumptions about honesty, timing, and responsibility. And most importantly, it exposed how quickly public sympathy can shift depending on who controls the narrative. As this gist continues to trend, one thing is certain: this is not the last we will hear about Bryan Okwara and Sonia Uche. Whether Sonia eventually speaks or continues to remain silent, the public will keep speculating. And every new statement, or lack thereof, will be analyzed, debated, and judged. Before we wrap up, let me ask you directly, and this is where you need to drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Bryan Okwara was genuinely honest, or was his revelation a calculated move? Is Sonia Uche unfairly dragged into narratives she did not create, or does silence invite speculation? And most importantly, should celebrities be obligated to explain their personal relationships to the public? If you have made it this far, thank you for staying with Gist Dish TV. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss any of these deep, controversial stories. Because here on Gist Dish TV, we do not just report the gist, we break it down, question it, and leave the final judgment to you.